Welcome to another episode. Today's question is, what is the best among all good habits and why? I'll repeat the question. What is the best among all good habits and why? What is a habit? A settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. That is the dictionary meaning of habit. Okay, do we brush the teeth because it is a good habit? Every day we brush the teeth. Is it because it's a good habit to follow? Or because we have to keep our teeth clean? We understand that we have to keep our teeth clean and we brush it. We take bath at least once a day. Is it because again a good habit or because we have to keep our body cool and clean? So do we take food 3 times a day? Because again, is it because it is a good habit or because we are hungry and we need nutrition for our body? Why should someone make it a habit? We do the things because it is required, which is the right action. A mindless, repetitive act. Why should we have it? Act on something because it is required. We are not telling that all habits are bad. Habits are required because it enables the brain to memorize certain activities and execute it easily. We'll see that it is called bunching. So certain acts may be necessary, but not always. So let us see the psychological side of it and the philosophical or spiritual side of it. First is from The Power of Habits by Charles Duhigg. Habit scientists say emerge because the brain is constantly looking for ways to save effort. Left to its own devices, the brain will try to make almost a routine into a habit. Because habits allow our minds to ramp down more often. This effort-saving instinct is a huge advantage. Here, effort is saved when there is a repetitive act, so brain memorizes it and repeats it. That saves the energy. The efficient brain requires for a smaller head, which makes childbirth easier and therefore causes fewer infant and mother deaths. The total evolution principle makes it safer for the survival. So when you develop habits, when the brain's efforts are required less, brain size becomes smaller. And when the brain size is smaller, the head is smaller. And that helps in the childbirth. So evolution will attempt to do that. An efficient brain also allows us to stop thinking constantly about basic behaviors, such as walking, choosing what to eat, and so we can devote mental energy to inventing spears, irrigation systems, and eventually airplanes and video games. But conserving mental effort is tricky because if our brain power down at the wrong moment, we might fail to notice something important, such as a predator hiding in the bushes or a speeding car as we pull into a street. So our basal ganglia have devised a clever system to determine when to let habits take over. The negative side of habit is habit allows our brain to power down and it will repeat the act mindlessly. That saves its energy. But if it powers down at the wrong moment, it will fail to notice the danger lurking. So that will lead to problem. But it has got a system. In basal ganglia, there is a system which determines when to power down, when habits have to take over. That is determined. It is something that happens whenever a chunk of behavior starts or ends. The basal ganglia determines that. when it starts or ends, whether a habit can be allowed to take over. When a habit emerges, the brain stops fully participating in decision making. It stops working so hard or diverts focus to other tasks. Unless you deliberately fight a habit, unless you find new routines, the pattern will unfold automatically. This process, in which the brain converts a sequence of actions into an automatic routine, is known as chunking, and it is at the root of how habits form. So, the set of activities which the brain makes into an automatic routine or a habit is called chunking. A group of activities that is called chunking. There are dozens, if not hundreds, of behavioral chunks that we rely on every day. Every day, hundreds of these chunks our brain relies on to save energy. Some are simple. You automatically put toothpaste on your toothbrush before sticking it into your mouth. Some, such as getting dressed or making the kids' lunch, are a little more complex. Others are so complicated that it is a remarkable bit of tissue that evolved millions of years ago can turn into habits at all. There are many complex activities which has become a routine activity or a habit or a chunking. The act of backing out of your car is one such activity. When you first learned to drive, driveway required a major dose of concentration because it is difficult. All driveways are very narrow. A car shed is so small that you have not much room of maneuver or play around with. So it required a major dose of concentration initially when we learned to drive. It involves opening the garage, unlocking the car door, adjusting the seat, inserting key in the ignition, turning it clockwise, moving the rear view mirror and side mirrors and checking for obstacles, putting your foot on the brake, moving the gear shift into reverse, removing your foot from the brake, mentally estimating the distance between the garage and the street while keeping the wheels aligned and monitoring for oncoming traffic, calculating how reflected images in the mirrors translated into actual distances between the bumper, the garbage cans, the hedges, all the while applying slight pressure into the gas pedal and brake, most likely telling your passenger to please stop fiddling with the radio. Nowadays, however, you do all that every time you pull into the street with hardly any thought. Once you have practiced it many times, once it has become a habit, once the chunking has formed, now, without much concentration, without much thought, you just do it automatically. This routine occurs by habit. So next we will see the spiritual side of it from J.Krishnamurti, from his book on Brockwood Talks. I have never said good habits and bad habits. We are examining the machinery of habits. We are not condemning it. The lady asked, having all these habits, can one live happily? Can one live blind? If you call blind living happy, it is up to you. Habit consists of two parts: the habit that exists and the observer who is concerned with those habits. And the observer is also a habit. So both are habits. You understand. I fiddle with my fingers and I observe. The observation also is from an entity which is the result of habits. Obviously, so it is all a habit. We explain this. Why do you follow it? Is it because for the sake of security, to feel companionship with others, not to be out of run, to be like the rest of the people, which means you are frightened not to be like the rest of the people. You want to be like everybody else because in that there is perfect safety. We cultivate habits because we want to be secure. We stick to the same food and the same neighbors. We are sure of them. I am sure of my husband, my wife, my children, their habits. I see to it that I am surrounded by complete security, but question whether the mind, which has been so conditioned in habits, can uncondition itself from all habit. Habit being the tradition, having an opinion and sticking to it, insisting it is night, believing or not believing in God, calling oneself a Catholic or a Hindu or a Buddhist, have an opinion, but if it is wrong, change it immediately. So J.Krishnamurti is telling what is right, what is God, what is Catholic, Buddhist, all those opinions you are having. But you can have it. But if you feel it is wrong, all those habits you change it. Look into it. If you feel it is wrong, don't stick to it. Change it. That's what he says. Certain habits may be good, like backing up a car is required. Brushing your teeth may be required. Is required, definitely. Brain winds down with effort. It's concentration. That is good. But look into it. Look into your habits. If you feel it is wrong, get out of it. Next we will see Osho, Yoga, the Supreme Science. That is above. Never try to change one habit into another, because all the habits are bad. Even good habits are bad because they are habits. Don't try to change impure habits into pure habits. It is good for society that you change your bad habits into good habits. Rather than going to the pub every day, if you go to the church or the temple every day, it is good for the society. But as far as you are concerned, it is not going to help much. You have to go beyond habits, then it is helpful. So that is what he says. Go beyond the habits, yes. Substituting one habit with other may be good in the short term. Like if you are going on a drinking spree, and instead of that, you go to a temple or a church, that may be better in a way. But if you are doing that blindly without any spirituality inside, then that is of no use. Of course, from a bad you come to a good. But go beyond all those habits. Think about it. Okay, with this we will end this episode. Stay with me for another episode. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you.